and simulation, and an original architect of OCNE. And although she had planned to, or had at least considered to retire, considered retiring earlier this year, she stayed, offering her expertise and leadership to help us establish the remote learning and simulation early in the COVID crisis. And I think we all once again were reminded of her incredible substantive expertise and leadership throughout this time as well. And while we certainly respect your decision, Paula, to transition to a well-deserved retirement, you must know how much we are going to miss you and how much we are going to feel the loss of not having you with us. I know that you are emeritus, and we will still be appreciating you in some of your ongoing work. So we're grateful for that. And, you know, it's been my pleasure to work with Paula since I came to OHSU 7 years ago. And right away, she gave me a couple of very important tips. One was to get a hooded raincoat, which I did immediately. And the other was to teach me all the 5 types, main types of salmon in the Northwest and the seasons, so that I could take advantage of that, which I have. And I even have eaten the freshest fish I've ever eaten because of Paula and her fishing skills. So, I mean, talk about a full service talent in one person. It's just really, really amazing. I met Paula first actually in 2007 when she and Chris Tanner came to New Jersey to present on then the newly formed Oregon Consortium for Nursing Education. Sadly, it did not change things in New Jersey, but it gave me an introduction to OCNE and to OHSU that when I had the opportunity to consider coming here, felt really, really positive. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, we would have had an in-person gathering, perhaps some alcohol, which would have been, you know, very nice. Now we have our, you know, hopefully our coffee this morning. But I really am delighted that we have this opportunity to be together. I certainly want to thank Christy Richardson Zaborowski for her organizing of this event, and to Josh Blender for his technical support for this event. And we have invited several colleagues who have worked closely with Paula to start us off in each of 3 segments of this morning. And we also want others to feel free to share and reminisce and offer their appreciations as well. And I'm certain we'll run out of time before we run out of things that people would want to share and say. So let me keep things moving, and let's start off with Deb Messakar and Michelle Cooper.
Well, thanks a lot, Susan. We appreciate it. So Michelle and I mostly want to talk about VANAP, and Michelle also was part of some of the original OCNE, and I'm going to let her talk in a minute. But, you know, I realized we forgot to put on the list, Paula, you know, that you used to be the representative for the Masters of Public Health program when we had the as a program instead of as a School of Public Health. And one of my memories of the many wonderful things that Paula did is I remember Paula being with me at a meeting of all of the leadership of the Masters of Public Health, and they were all very mad and upset because the prior deans had decided to suspend admissions. Well, I'm echoing. At any rate, I just remember everyone yelling at us and Paula being so great, and I was so grateful to have her by my side. Yeah, that was one of many experiences, but as everybody knows who's worked with Paula, she's a really great leader, and you know, and boy, that's the thing, having her by your side was a big deal. Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about VANAP? And because I know your history with VANAP and Paula goes back even further than my own. So, Michelle? Oh, maybe she's gone. Oh, anyway. All right. Well, let me see.
She's muted. She's
Michelle,
talking away.
unmute,
All right.
Michelle. There you go.
Oh, there.
Oh, okay.
You'd think after 6 months of this, you'd think I'm a little better. Anyway, it's great to be here to celebrate Paula. And for those of you who may not know me, I'm Michelle Cooper. I work over at the VA Medical Center, and so have been so fortunate to partner with the School of Nursing and my co-partner Deb Messaker in crime there for the VANAP, the VA Nursing Academic Partnership. So before that time though, Paula, I got to meet you in the early OCNE days, and I felt so fortunate to be part of that group. I was one of the, I think what's great about OCNE is it was so inclusive, and it brought practice partners to the table as well. So getting to come into that environment, not as an academic educator at that time, could have been a little bit intimidating, but I think one of the great things about Paula and the whole OCNE crew back then too is just, I mean, it was a huge, huge initiative. And I think I look at Paula, and in anything she approaches, and it's like, you know, those maze puzzles where, oh, there's a barrier, can't, nope, can't get there. Somehow she's the mastermind of those maze puzzles, because she can figure out, yep, that's a barrier, but here's how we're gonna keep moving forward, keep plowing forward. And I think watching that modeled was just amazing to me. Plus, you know, she taught us all, I think, to never take ourselves too seriously. I mean, we just gotta, you know, recognize that we are people, and we mess up, or we just got to come together again, and we got to laugh at ourselves and support each other. And I mean, it was fun. And I think if it wouldn't have been such a fun environment to be in, that where everybody could really kind of let their guard down, because really what that leads to is getting out on the table what your concerns are and what, you know, what we really need to address to move forward. And Paula, you're just such a champ at that, and I've learned so much from you doing that, and I just really appreciate that. So it was just my delight when year 3 of VANAP, Paula stepped in to be the co-program director. There's a program director on the VA side, and then there's one on the OHSU side. And there had been a transition in that leadership. And Paula, you stepped in. Why did you step in? Why did you come on board with the program, with everything else that was going on with you?
Because I couldn't find anybody else to do it. And I searched really hard.
Well,
but I was also committed to the program. I mean, you know, it was a really wonderful project and a partnership so I guess what my commitment was based on, it was about a partnership, and that's sort of what I really love, are partnerships.
Well, and again, when I think, when, you know, your time here is when you're around the table with, you know, the practice partners and the nurse educators. It's not just for show, it's really to get into each other's worlds. And I think it's rare when we get to see that true blend of academic practice, of academics and practice really coming together to collaborate. And that's what you help foster in a big way. And then, you know, such a skilled nurse educator, the other thing that I've learned from you and so respect is your ability to, you're always in the literature. You're always looking at new best practices and ways to educate our new nurses. And so you always are bringing that to the table, which I think is so important too. As healthcare changes, always have your finger on the pulse of the changes in practice as well, and really listening to what the needs of the practice sides are. And then we both just kind of look at each other and say, how are we going to get there? You know, and then we make a plan. And so thanks for that, because you're just such a gifted at that and bringing us together, and just such a good time, and a great person to drink a gin and tonic with, to be sure.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been wonderful to work with you and the whole VANAP crew.
And plus, you've shared some great public health stories back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Yes. You know, one of the things I forgot to mention is both Paula and I worked for the visiting nurses a long time ago. And I know I see Kathy Lassiter there. we all have a history back there. So yeah, I remember
And Carla too.
that.
We were all VNA at the same
Oh,
time.
that's right, I forgot about Carla.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, hey, I'm sorry, I don't know why I was echoing before, so that's why I kind of got off. But no, Paul, I really have appreciated your help with VANAP too, because actually it seemed like a lot to learn to me when I first went into it, and you got, Michelle had done such a great job of getting it started, and you were there, and it just was really nice to have you as somebody there to, help me as I was trying to, figure it out and try to get on top of it and stay with it. And so, and like I said, the other thing that I didn't get a chance, like the Masters of Public Health thing was also a very complicated deal. Whenever we have these relationships that extend beyond our own school, and you get into the politics from other groups and other universities and stuff, it's always really kind of a difficult place to be. And so all of your experience with that was really a really big help, because and that was a partnership that struggled, and they did finally find their way, and in terms of splitting in two and becoming two different schools of public health. And people don't realize it, but there was a period of time also with that administration when they had kind of lost their director, and things were really difficult, and Paula was a key part of helping keep that together too.
Oh, there was a horrible time. There was a period of time where I became the director of that kind of consortium, because two of the people that were in the positions died, and the other one moved away. And so it was me
Yeah,
and
right.
somebody else. And it was at the transition time when the group was really splitting apart, where the Oregon State had decided to go out on their own. And it was really pretty crazy.
Yes, I remember that. It was tough. So yeah, it's like, wow, it's really helpful to have somebody like you there, assisting with all of that, and it was really good. And then also, I didn't even mention the Masters in Nursing Ed program, and you've been such a big help in that. Your guidance and some of the things that you've done in terms of creating some of our core classes have been really, really important. So, uh, that's, there's a lot of you in that program as well. And it's a really good thing. That's been a grateful thing that we've had, like you did simulation, and you also, created that curriculum class, and then the clinical teaching. So those were all really, really big contributions. So I guess maybe we're pausing a little bit early, but maybe we'll let, Joanne and Ann get a chance to talk now.
I just want to say one more thing, Susan. So Paula was over at the VA for a meeting, and we're breaking up after the meeting because you talked about the hooded raincoat. And I really knew I was really arriving as a nurse educator, as I emulate Paula, when I saw that we had the same raspberry pink hooded raincoat hanging on the hook. So it really was validating for me. And thank you, Paula. You're sensei. It's common. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I would just ask before we go on, if it's okay, Paula, if you had to give advice to nurse educators on how to keep blending that practice and academic side, what would you say?
Well, I guess what I'd say is that you have those academic practice partnerships are critical, and you have to listen to each other and establish a relationship where you inform each other. And that happens through trust. And it also, as you sort of pointed out, Michelle, it happens through learning how to sort of play and have fun together too. So it's about relationships.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if we're moving on to the next part of it, but the next element is for myself, Joanne Noon, and Ann Nielsen to talk about our relationship with Paula, and I'm really honored to have been asked to speak. So Paula was my first boss in moving into this role as campus associate dean. In fact, actually talked me into taking the job. um, but I did first meet her very similarly to what Michelle was talking about. I wasn't here in the early OCNE days, but joined some statewide groups with clinical education redesign, which again was um, uh, bringing to, Paula and other leaders of OCNE bringing together academic and clinical partners to redesign clinical education. And I've always been impressed with Paula's wisdom and leadership skills, her calm approach to things. She's probably calmed me down many times over the years, but and also her knowledge of nurse leaders throughout the state. I know that Paul is proud of being uh, an, an Oregonian, born and raised in Oregon. And I do think her wisdom and guidance and her vast expertise in nursing and nursing education has really impacted nursing education in the state and nationally as well. She's so in addition to her wisdom, it's also been pointed out, she's also a lot of fun. So just two stories I was thinking about. One was uh, uh, I still started laughing just even thinking about this. So when one of our campus associate deans, some of you may remember Brett Lyman, he left to go back to go to Utah, I believe. And so Paula's great idea was to take him to, I forget the name of the restaurant. It was a German restaurant in Laurelwood area, and so many of you know Brett is a lovely married man with many children who, um, and so we wind up the end of the night with the waitress singing German love songs to him. I still kind of fall off the chair thinking about that. So, but I also just another story to point out her wisdom as a boss or her wisdom as a nurse leader and how people think of her as a nurse leader is some of you may remember those of you on the leadership council about some of our consultative work we were led through and in one of those sessions um, we were asked to go out and call someone we trusted to give us honest feedback. You may remember that experience. So this just highlights to me Paula's accessibility and how people view her as a leader is that I call her and she answers and she's on a vacation day out on a boat fishing, right? But she answers her phone and of course she gives me the honest answer that the consultant at least is looking for. Not me. But then she says, "Oh, my phone keeps beeping," and so probably half of the other people in the room also viewed her as someone. To call and give that feedback to. So I do, appreciate, very much her wisdom as a leader. I do also support, want to call out her support for faculty scholarship and new knowledge. I got to participate with her on looking at the poverty simulation and as far as how does the impact of that and it impacts student learning and uh, is it worth all of the effort? So that was really one part of our answer is, if we're going to put that amount of effort into an educational program, is there some outcomes for it? So I've been mentored by her as well as a lot of other nurse educators in pursuits of educational research and scholarship. So I'm going to turn it over to Anne.
Thank you, Anne.
So Paula, I can't remember, believe you're really doing this. You know, you still have time to change your mind. Really, you do. So, but seriously, there are so many things that can be said about you, Paula. You know, as I have always, you know, when I think about your accomplishments and your retirement, I find myself thinking about what you've done, but also how you did it. And one thing that I've asked both you and Chris Tanner about is how you influenced OCNE to happen. And honestly, neither of you have really been very forthcoming with that information, because you are both so very humble as people. So I've had to kind of imagine how this all came about, and this really gave me a chance to think about what leadership is and the qualities that you have. So I think about you as a transformational leader. You know, as a leader, you have reshaped nursing at OHSU, in Oregon, and nationally. That's kind of a phenomenal accomplishment. And I think that people have already spoken today about things that, you know, have supported that process and moved along. But one of the things that I think about is the fact that you, what I observe in you is that you are a visionary risk taker. I wasn't a part of the group that generated those initial ideas that provided the foundation of OCNE, but I often think about the vision and the courage that starting this project must have taken. At that time, you know, university and community colleges didn't come together to do much of anything, much less collaborate and create a curriculum. And so I think you were a bridge builder in that. You know, as dean of Mount Hood Community College, you provided, I suspect, significant leadership on the community college side. And you made it look easy. And I suspect it was not. In my observation and experience, your quiet grace helps people on both sides of the bridge to feel valued, respected, and safe. And that facilitates cooperation and the courage to walk across the bridge together. Those qualities and porn star names. So, and then I also think about your quiet grace. I wonder if the success of OCNE implementation was not in part attributable to just that. You always listen patiently and respectfully to the ideas of others, no matter how harebrained the ideas, and I have been the source of some of those over time. And that humility that you have helps others to grow and thrive. You're an innovator. So amid the OCNE implementation, you also came into a leadership role at OHSU, and you were a significant influencer for early adoption of simulation as a teaching strategy. Some people on the call may not remember when the simulation lab was at the ADP building and the beginnings of the simulation program development that put us amid truly the national leaders in this area. And Paula was at the forefront of that work. A respected leader across all environments. You're a problem solver. Never waste a good crisis. We have all heard that a million times in the last 6 months. But that really was your mantra before COVID happened. And that statement really helps people to see predicaments in different ways and can inspire optimism and creative solutions. And I can't say how many times just that has happened over the course of working with you. And finally, principled leadership. Paula, you are one of the most principled people I know. As a leader, those principles are evident in all of the work that you do. You bring others on board, you create a and you support them to thrive. You've taught me a lot about leadership and about followership, and I am grateful to have been your colleague and wish you well in your retirement. So now I want to put you on the spot and ask you have for leaders.
That's funny. So a past graduate from the M&E program just interviewed me last week because she's entered a DMP program, and she interviewed me because she had to interview a leader. And after about an hour of our conversation, she said, okay, so the theme that I've identified from this conversation is your leadership advice is shut up and listen. And she said, that's what I'm going to name my paper is shut up and listen. So I think that says it all. Shut up and listen. And then find the commonalities and the compromises and move from there. You wanted something more elaborate, but that kind of sums it up for me.
I didn't want something more elaborate. I think that's wonderful advice, and as usual, humble advice. So I think now is the time that we're going to move on to Glenise and Kristen and Tamara.
Great. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Hi, Paula. And it's really also fabulous to see so many other folks on the line that are from some retired, some from other, walks of your life. So that's fabulous. So hopefully we'll get a few words from them too. I really wanted to talk about Paula and her, which I think why so many of us are on this line, her amazing ability to be a mentor and to be one of those calm and the person you call when you have a question or an issue. So the first time I met Paula was when I was relatively new educator in Ashland, and I think, I'm not sure, Joanne, when did you become the CAD? Because that's when I first met Paula. Paula came down to interview. 2010. So in 2010, she came. So I'd been an educator for 3 years. She came down to interview everybody about what kind of leader we wanted. So we needed a new campus associate dean. So I was so impressed that someone actually flew down to Ashland and asked us, and that was Paula, and that has been my ongoing experience with her, is that she goes that, she just listens, and that is what she did. She shut up and she listened. And I felt heard, and I got the outcome I wanted, which was Joanne as our campus associate dean. So I just thought that whole process was just a great reflection of what and who Paula is as a leader and as a mentor, because then I'm like, that is what I want to do, and I want to be like that. So that has been great. And then I became the RNBS director. And again, Paula, for that first year, thank you again for having an open door, because it was a challenging transition from going from, this classroom to being in administration. So I had lots of things to learn, and Paula was always kind. And like someone else said, you can't ask a stupid question, because she just is very kindly answers every single one. So I totally appreciate that. And then she's continued to be a voice. And I think I saw Gail mention that she comes to our RNBS retreats. She's just so generous with her time. And again, I think that's another mentor way you want to be able to emulate, and having that open door is my other take home. So also Tamara and Kristen were going to join in this. So I will hand it off to Tamara.
Good morning, Paula. Good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to have an opportunity to first just thank you so much for what you have done for the school, for all the campuses, for all the individuals, and for the state and the nation, the students around the world that have benefited from your leadership with OCNE. You led the effort to create a pathway for associate degree nursing students to transition seamlessly to get their bachelor's degree. And one of the things about that that I really admire about you is your understanding of individuals that may not have the opportunity to complete their nursing degree due to multiple factors, whether it be finances, time, energy, and you recognize that how important it is for someone who can attain their associate degree and may want to go on to a bachelor's degree, that you really cared enough to create a pathway for all of those individuals that may not otherwise have been able to become a nurse. And you've always that really, really prominent in when you talk about students and wanting to serve the underserved. And I recognize that you and I are both from rural Oregon. We're Oregonians and have grew up in rural communities, understand that are out in the rural communities. You also brought together the community colleges and the university campuses, which I know was a huge feat to do, but you used your leadership, which everyone has spoken about, to bring people together in a way that they could be collaborative. And I know that your attributes of listening are so important in that. And just hearing everybody's voice and finding joy in the work. I mean, I think that you were so significant in making OCNE happen. And as we continue on with OCNE and try to fill in your footsteps, so that we can continue to be a consortium that really serves Oregonians, so that we can serve state. And I just really want to thank you. And I loved your stories as a public health visiting nurse, and especially the one about the I think it was a goose that chased you. Anyway, always great at storytelling, making everyone feel comfortable in the room, and truly, like everyone has said about your ability to listen, that is just a remarkable attribute that is so much appreciated. So thank you, Paula, very much for who you are and what you've done for the school. Kristen.
Hi, Paula. Hello, everyone. Well, I too am really honored to be able to celebrate all of your achievements and contributions to nursing and OCNE, OHSU. And I'm focusing on leadership, particularly in a more formal way, in terms of what you've accomplished nationally and statewide. And so I found a quote that I liked a great deal from Rosalind Carter that talked about a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. And I think that that fits a description of you quite well. I know Anne has attributed transformational leadership to you. I also think that you demonstrate great relational leadership, and that your authentic and empathetic leadership that is continuously reinforced through your friendship and mentorship, and it is just has become embedded in our team at OHSU. And it's not only like a style, but it is incredibly powerful. And just want to thank you for that. And I've known Paula for over 11 years. When I came here as a faculty member in 2009, I think you had just become the Associate Dean for Academic Partnerships, Technology, and Simulation at OHSU, but it may have been a little bit before that. But as many of you know, Paula's been in academic nursing in Oregon since 1993. She was an instructor at Mount Hood Community College. And then in 1998, she became the nursing program director. And then in 2003, she became the Dean of Allied Health at Mount Hood Community College. And then in 2008, she moved over to OHSU, where she served as the Director of Simulation and Clinical Learning. In 2009, as I mentioned, Associate Dean for Academic Partnerships, Technology, and Simulation. And then she became Senior Associate Dean for Education and Statewide Programs at OHSU in 2012, and has since been Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Special Assistant to the Dean, and all sorts of other leadership roles within that weren't necessarily labeled with a particular title. Paula, you served with the Institute of Medicine. You were selected to join an elite group of 12 interdisciplinary health leaders to the Committee on Assessing Progress on the Institute of Medicine report, The Future of Nursing. One of the most important reports on nursing, academic nursing in our lifetime here in the United States. In addition, you've been selected to be a fellow, not only in the American Academy of Nursing, but also for the National League for Nursing, recognizing your outstanding contributions as a teacher and a mentor, scholar, policy person. You serve as a site visitor for NWCCU, the Northwest Commission on Colleges and University. You've served on the Oregon Nursing Association's Cabinet on Education. You've co-authored a medical surgical nursing textbook on clinical reasoning and patient care. You co-led the Oregon Action Coalition, which is part of the Campaign for Action coming out of the Future of Nursing. You've been an integral member of the Oregon Nurse Leadership Council, and also a founding member of the Oregon Simulation Alliance Governing Council. So those are just some of the numerous leadership activities and roles and contributions you had. And I think, as many people have talked about, you have been an incredible leader and mentor, supervisor, colleague, and a friend. And you're someone who has continued to be a role model and a source of support and guidance. And one of the things that I have admired a great deal about you, as people have described, is about your sense of fun, but also about your love of your family and your pride in their accomplishments and their families. And I'm so thrilled that you are going to be spending more time with Lee and your kids. And I appreciate your time here. We are sad. I am sad to see you go, but I'm thrilled to see all that you're going to do in this next phase. And I know that you'll be here because you're emeritus, so you're just an email away or a phone call. So best of luck to you, Paula. I guess a question that I had for you is, as a leader, and people have talked about this, as a newer leader, for people who are aspiring to leadership, to do something that makes a difference, what is, you've talked about shut up and listen. What is the driving force behind making those positive changes and doing things? If you were to tell, give advice to someone who wants to make a difference, what's that behind there? Because I don't see that as your desire. So I see, go ahead.
So what is the driving force? Well, I think the driving force is, for me, is a commitment to equality and equitable, an equitable world. So, and I guess what it sometimes takes a lot of courage. And the way to sort of nurture your own courage is to surround yourself with people like you. I think the other thing that is important about being a leader is you have to take risks. But when you take risks, you also have to know you're going to fail and you're going to make mistakes. So you have to forgive yourself, you have to forgive others, and learn. just continue to learn from every mistake and keep moving forward.
That's great, Paula. Thank you so much. That's really, I think, helpful. So I believe we wanted to welcome other people to chime in. I see a lot of familiar faces on the screen, and so I would love to welcome others to share a fond memory or a tribute to Paula.
This is Kathy Lassiter. I have had a really interesting relationship with Paula we've been in each other's grill for about 30 years now, I think. And we've gone back and forth in various roles, and it's been really an interesting time. We started, as Deb Messakar mentioned, at VNA together. She was actually in an office in McMinnville, and I was in Portland, so I didn't get to see her often, but that's where we first met. And then we found each other again at Portland State University when we were both in an EDD program. And Paula was a year ahead of me, but I finished a couple years ahead of her because, gosh, I guess she was too busy with OCNE or something that was going on at that time. But the good news for me was that her dissertation focused on psychometrics of the rubric that I had created in my dissertation. We did a couple of projects together during that time with some pharmacists, if memory serves me right. And then, of course, the whole OCNE thing was just one of the pinnacles and highlights of my entire academic career, having been there from the very beginning of the planning for that. I held a place for her as interim simulation director while she finished her doctoral degree in 2007, 2008, and simulation was an interest that we both shared right from the beginning of our simulation experience at OHSU. For a time, she was my boss, my supervisor, which was an interesting experience, but I always felt her support and her willingness to let me kind of do my own thing, but share with me the realities of doing my own thing. And that was really, really helpful. We have actually traveled together to places like Kentucky and also to Italy to present together, which has been a really fun experience. And she led the way for both Ann Nielsen and me to be involved at Osaka Prefecture University in Japan. Gosh, it just goes on and on, doesn't it? We've served together in the Masters of Nursing Education program, and we've been co-authors. And like I say, we've just been in each other's face for a long, long time now. But I'm really thrilled that you've made this decision, Paula, and that you're going to have more time to fish and with your family and to travel. Hopefully, we all get to travel again someday. So welcome to retirement, and I'm pleased to call you my friend. Through all of these experiences, we have been friends a long time. Thanks.
Kathy.
Well, this is Gail, and Paula probably doesn't remember when I was earning my master's, gosh, back in 2004, 2005. I had an assignment to go to a curriculum meeting, and so I went to Mount Hood, and Paula and Chris Tanner and Louise, was it Louise? Anyway, it was a working day, and they came in with coffee, and there were no goodies or anything, and I just remember writing my paper going, I struck gold. This is not just a curriculum meeting. This is an overhaul of Oregon, and a lot of community colleges weren't too. I was at UCC doing that practicum, and there was a lot of pushback. I mean, there wanted to be content curriculum, and it was explained, no, we need to be competency based, and just explaining that. And again, it was so fun and easy, but what a working day that was. And I think I still have the paper, but I wrote way too much, but I was like, it's gold. I struck gold. I remember thinking that. And you probably don't remember, but I was a part of, seeing that inception. Amazing.
Good morning. This is Jessica Gavilanes, Operations Director with OHSU Simulation. And wow, I have a lot of stories. I was trying to think what's appropriate for this morning, Paula. And I think that for me, I first heard and met Paula probably in 2003 when I was working with Bonnie Driggers and Michael Soropian in setting up simulation at OHSU back in the day. And we really met. So Mount Hood Community College, we came on and partnered to do the simulations for the Workforce for Immigrant Nurses, the WIN program, which was through Clackamas Community College. From and so she said, what we need, so implemented the fort. And from the never about people's countries, really as a hospice and something to that. Okay. Traveling so
You're really breaking up. You're really breaking up. So I'm not understanding.
good morning. How about now?
Better.
Sorry, so sorry. 2 teenagers are taking up my internet. I'm not sure what you heard me, but really I was saying that I met Paula through the Workforce for Immigrant Nurses simulations that we did through Mount Hood Community College in Clackamas Community College. And Paula implemented the talking stick or fork. And that was really amazing. It allowed us to bridge conversations across 20 different cultures and languages. And we went on to have conversations about end of life care and hospice from all over the world. And it was astounding. It was seeing Paula in action. Really was amazing. I know that she then became my boss in 2008 when she moved to simulation at OHSU. And we were involved, obviously, with PIMCONE, educating, hundreds, thousands of educators from across the state in partnership with Bonnie Driggers, who I saw in here earlier, and others traveling to places such as Mississippi and around the nation. What happens in Mississippi stays in Mississippi. And just really some of my fondest times in my career were under Paula's leadership. So thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Jess.
Okay, I'd like to take the fork now, and I have one actually. So I just want to say, I could say a lot. I said a lot in the chat already, but one thing I want to add is that I think one of the things I observed about Paula working with her over the years is that she never forgets where she came from. She remembers, she talks about her work as a nurse in a critical access hospital, and then her work in the community colleges, and she carried that with her the whole time. And so as she rose through the ranks, she always brought that perspective with her, and I've had the opportunity to observe her speaking with, people that are really high up in leadership and students who are just getting started or even just thinking about getting started in nursing. And she treats everyone with that same kind of respect and attention. And I think a real leader lifts people up as they climb, and Paula has done that. So just really pleased that I had the chance to work with her and observe that for myself. And I'll take a lot of those lessons with me as I go forward. So thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Angela. It's good to see you.
I'm going to jump on really quick here. This is Allison Lord. Hi, Paula. I actually have to go teach an OPEX class soon, so that's why I wanted to jump in. And so the first thing I want to say is thank you for being a champion of continuous improvement at the School of Nursing. But really, mostly, it's just been such a pleasure to work with you over the years. We've worked on various strategic A3s and improvement projects. And most recently, well, now it seems like yesterday, but it's been months, is getting, responding to COVID and figuring out how to do clinical education. So it was kind of, it was really inspiring actually to just sort of get in there and see you lead that work along with others. And just, it was clear the level of expertise you had, the knowledge of all the best practices, and then also just being able to identify, the gaps and sort of quickly help the group come up with solutions that we could implement. So it was, even though it was really hard, it was a real pleasure to work with you on that. And I want to echo what so many people have already said, but you also maintain this sense of humor through it all. And it's really inspiring. So you will be missed, Paula.
Thank you.
So Paula, this is Carla Hagan over here in LeGrand. And for those of you who don't know, I've been at the School of Nursing for the past 7 years, and Paula actually hired me. I had the world's longest, or felt like the longest interview as we traveled back and forth in her car. To LeGrand. So that was about a 9-hour one-on-one. But that was the beginning of what I consider both an enriching, both personal and professional relationship. And so, Paula, I put together a few little verbs aligned with the spelling of your name that describe a few of the attributes that you've shared with myself and with all of us, I really believe. So for the P, I said you're progressive and you're personable. And for the A, which the word was mentioned before, but really an architect and an achiever. For the U, I think you're a unifier. You really have done that, and that's resonated as people have shared. For L, you're a listener, you're a leader, and you're a launcher. An A, and finally, you're an advocator and you're accomplished. And so thank you, Paula, for sharing your skills, your person, and your attributes with all of us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carla.
So I hate being the timekeeper here, but I do want to first of all, I want to thank everyone again. This has just been amazing. Paula, we had 63 people here to start, and these are people who have been touched and connected with you in so many ways, and I think that in and of itself says a great deal about their feelings towards you and that they wanted to be here this morning. I wanted to ask you if you wanted to say a few words.
Well, I guess I just want to say thank you. I have to tell you that I was, my husband said, well, can I come? And I said, no, you can't come. I said, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. We're having a disaster. I really didn't expect a lot of people to show up. So I'm overwhelmed, and I thank you all. It's been the highlight of my career to work with all of you, and I'm going to miss you all very, very much. I hope you will call on me as Emeriti. I hope to stay connected in new ways and support your contributions and continue the work together that we've been doing for the last 2 decades. I think this is a really exciting time to be part of OHSU, even though we just seem to go from crisis to crisis. But I think that this is a time for the next level and a new level of change. I think we have a great foundation of how to innovate and how to change. And there's a continued opportunity to really transform nursing education in new ways that 6 months ago we never even imagined. So I encourage you all to be hopeful and committed. And remember, it's about the health of Oregonians. That's what we're here.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. And thank you again to everyone. I think that leaving it with Paula's hope is a really wonderful place to leave us this morning. Paula, I'll remind you that although I used the term retirement earlier, that the new term is preferment. So what we want you to do is to move into that phase of preferment, and we hope that that includes what you just said, which is to continue to be connected. You're leaving an amazing legacy. You've supported so many people who are here this morning, and we will continue to learn and work toward the promise of that transformative change going forward with your energy and your hope. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here this morning.
So I just have one more thing. I'm going to be a grandma again. So, yes. So I will be busy in my preferment.
That's a wonderful preferment to look toward. All right. Thank you. Thank you all again. Congratulations again, Paula, and our deepest gratitude. All right. Take care.